a politician, and I just wanted a full-time job. And so I was encouraged to run, and I did. And I said, well, I hope there's nobody that will be running against me. And sure enough, I had 2 other people. So I had to run a campaign. I had to raise money. I had to hold signs. I had children your ages, and they actually had to go out and hold signs for me. And they weren't too happy, but they did. The office of the town clerk, I'll give you a little bit of history, is one of the oldest in municipal government in Massachusetts. The town clerk was one of the earliest offices established in colonial towns. The settlers were aware of the importance of keeping accurate written records of their agreement and actions, including grants of land, regulations governing animals, the collection of taxes, and the expenditure of town funds. One of the earliest statutory duties imposed by the general court on the town clerk was that of recording births, deaths, and marriages. And we did bring something here just to show you. Brooke, do you want to grab that? And we can pass that around while I'm talking. You can take a look at it. This is birth records from what is on the cover of that? I think it's from the
1897.
1897. So all of these records are forever kept, and we have to make sure that they are preserved so that they are here forever. And does everybody want to look at that while I'm talking? We can pass it around. So just be very gentle with it, because they are archival. Since that time, the general court has formalized by statute many of the duties first delegated by vote of the town and has added others. By 1692, the town clerk was required to enter and record divisions of land and orders of the selectmen, as well as all town votes, orders, and grants. Warrants directed to the constable for the collection of taxes were to be signed by the assessors or the town clerk. Between 1742 and 1756, the general court made the town clerk responsible for receiving and producing, if necessary, to substantiate a person's voting rights, the list of each inhabitant's property value, and the town clerk had to administer and record the oath of office taken by town officials. By 1776, the town clerk was empowered to call town meeting to elect selectmen if a majority of the selectmen had moved from the town or were absent in the service of the United States of America. The town clerk has more frequent contact with the public than any other town officer, and is constantly called upon to provide information not only about his or her office, but about the rest of government as well. Perhaps more than any other public official, the town clerk symbolizes the stability and continuity of local government. Prior to 1915, all town clerks in Massachusetts were elected at the annual town meeting, but now in some communities, clerks are appointed. An elected clerk may serve for a term of 1 or more years with a maximum of 5 years, to be determined by the vote of the town charter. The town clerk, unlike other elected town offices, does not enter upon their performance of official duties until the 7th day after his or her election, and remains in office until the 7th day after the election in the year in which the term expires. The next thing that the town clerk has control over is the town seal, which we've also brought the town seal. We'll show you how that works. While many towns in Massachusetts designed and adopted official town seals early in their existence, the first statutory requirement that a town do so was in 1898. The official seal was to be provided for the use of the town clerk and was to include the name of the town, the date of incorporation, and a general design approved by the selectmen. The town clerk was required under this act to furnish copies of birth, death, or marriage records, as you see the birth records that are going around, under the official seal of the town. The method of adopting the seal was to be specified by town meeting vote, and the seal shall be in the custody of the town clerk. The use of the seal was expanded so that any paper or document with official town business be attested with the town seal. The town clerk duties include the chief election official, which means that I facilitate all elections, set them up. For local elections, I help prepare ballots. Licensing agent, so we license dogs. Does anybody here have a dog? Are your dogs licensed? When you go home, make sure, tell your parents that you have 3 dogs. Wow. Do you know if you had one more dog, you'd have to have a kennel? So, well, if you have 5 or more, so you could have one more. 5 or more, you need a kennel. A kennel, it's when somebody has dogs, 5 or more dogs, it's considered a kennel. We also do fuel storage permits. So if you see gas stations, the fuel, those storage units have to be licensed every year. We license businesses. All the businesses in town have to come in for a business permit, business certificate, and also burial permits. So when somebody passes away in Westwood, we have to issue a burial permit before they can be buried. And also raffle permits. If you see, maybe your school might have a raffle at some point in time. So if you're selling a raffle ticket, you need to have a raffle permit. And not everybody can have a raffle permit. You have to be a nonprofit organization. And then physicians also have to file a certificate in our office. We do the annual town census. So does anybody know what the census is? Yes. And we do that annually. In January, every household will get a census form. And that's to ensure that people are still living in the household. If there's registered voters that aren't living there anymore, they have to sign the form that we can take them off the voting rolls. And justice of the peace. So if somebody wants to get married and they want to get married at town hall, I would do that for them. A recording officer, we record just about everything. If there's somebody that files special permits, they have to record it with the town clerk. There's just a variety of things that are recorded. Public information officer, so we retain all the town's records, so if you needed to look, as you can see, the birth records from the 1800s, if you needed to find any birth records, marriage, death, or if you, let's say, your parents bought a house and they wanted to see if there was work that had been done on it in the past, we have that information. And we also do public record requests, so somebody may want to know how many registered voters are in town, or usually when there's an election, each committee wants to know who the registered voters are, or they want to know how many people voted in an election, so we would send them the list. We have something on the town's website that you can actually go in and request a public record. And we have 10 days, it's a law, so there's 10 days for us to work on that and to give them an answer. The care and preservation of town records, and as you can see, the birth book that's going around, those were taken from really frail old birth records, and they were put on special paper, and so that they will last forever. And then town meetings, so town meeting can't start without the town clerk. Town meeting, the town clerk takes all the notes, records all the votes, and is just another very important part of town meeting. Vital records, births, deaths, and marriages. So anytime somebody's born to a Westwood family, we get the birth certificate. If somebody passes away, we get the death certificate. And when you're 18, over 18, and you decide to get married, the couple can come into our office and file marriage intentions. And they have to wait 3 days, and then they get the marriage license. And then after they get married, they return it to us, we register it, and they get a certified copy. They get a certified copy, which I'll show you a little bit later on, has a seal, a special town seal on it that makes it legal. The town seal or any reproduction or facsimile thereof is not to be used without the authorization from the town clerk, who has custody of the seal. In 1899, the Massachusetts legislature enacted a law that required every city and town to adopt an official town seal. Ours is a sketch of the town pound, It was chosen for our official town seal. Does anybody know what that town pound is? So I want you guys to all look for that the next time you're on 109 going towards the highway. It's located on High Street, 109, near the intersection of Route 128, and was first built in 1700 by Lieutenant Joseph Colburn. The pound was a place where animals that wandered off were placed until their owners came to claim them. So if you see, there's the rocks around there and there's the big tree. So that's actually part of our seal. The town of Westwood was originally a part of Dedham. Did everybody know that?
Yes.
Nope. So originally a part of Dedham. Yes?
Wasn't it West Dedham?
It was, yes. And it was officially incorporated on April 2nd in 1897. Our population is growing. Every 10 years there's a federal census. This year our population went up to 16,266. Westwood is 11.1 square miles and we're in Norfolk County. Now, how does Westwood govern? We're governed by our charter and bylaws. And if you see the preamble here, we the people of the town of Westwood, Mass., in order to reaffirm the customary and traditional liberties of the people we respect, to the conduct of our local government, and to take the fullest advantages inherent in the Home Rule Amendment of the Constitution of the Commonwealth, do hereby adopt the following Home Rule Charter for this town. And if you wanted to take a look at it, you could go, maybe one of your teachers can show you. You can go on the website. It's called an E-code, and it has our charter, which we govern by, in our bylaws. Now, the Home Rule Charter, what it does, it defines how our municipality is run, procedures that are followed in governing our town. So we rule by Home Rule Charter, and then the Select Board rules. There's three. There's the Select Board, and there's 3 members. They're elected for a 3-year term. And then we have open town meeting. And open town meeting is where all decisions that govern our town are made. It's held the first Monday of May each year. And then there's a second annual town meeting that's held the second Monday in November. And that can be canceled at the discretion of the Select Board no later than September 15th in any year. Every town meeting is called by a warrant that contains articles. We actually have, let's see if I have the warrant book here. I think I have it somewhere. Oh, here it is. So we'll pass this around too. So we just had a town meeting, which was on May 1st, and there's a warrant in here. This goes to every household. So if you want to pass that around. The Select Board opens the warrant for submission of articles to be voted on at town meeting at their first meeting in December and closes the first meeting in January of each year. The articles are then presented to the Finance and Warrant Commission, who are tasked with making recommendations to the voters at town meeting. Once all public meetings and hearings take place, the articles are put on a warrant, which has to be posted by a constable 7 days before in 5 places in town, including each polling location. You must be a registered voter to attend and vote on articles. Deadline to register to vote is 10 days before. In order for business of the meeting to begin, once town meeting comes, there's a quorum required, and that's 175. So what that means is that the meeting cannot start until 175 registered voters have checked in. If we don't have that, then we have to adjourn town meeting for another night and try to get a quorum, but we really haven't had an issue with that. Articles are presented by the moderator to town meeting floor, each one, and if you look at the book, we had 20 articles this year. Articles require certain votes, such as a majority vote or 2/3 vote. The moderator will ask town meeting, once he brings up the article, he'll ask the town meeting to vote by saying aye or nay. If it cannot be determined by voice votes, then we take electronic votes. And the next person that has a big role in town government is our town administrator, Christopher Coleman. He's appointed by the Select Board. He's the Chief Administrative Officer of the town. Open town meeting is run by a moderator. The moderator is elected for a one-year term. He presides at all sessions of town meeting, and he has the power to appoint certain board members, and that's the Finance and Warrant Commission, Personnel Board, and the Permanent Building Committee. There are elected officers in our town. Our annual town election is the last Tuesday in April each year, and that's per our town charter. You must be a registered voter, and you must reside in Westwood in order to run for these offices. There is a Board of Assessors. There's 3 members that have a 3-year term. There's a Housing Authority, which has 4 members for 5-year terms. There's a Planning Board with 5 members for 3-year terms. School Committee has 5 members for 3-year terms. Sewer Commission has 3 members for 3-year terms. Library Trustees have 6 members for 3-year terms. We have a tax collector there's 1 member for a 3-year term, and a town treasurer, which has 1 member for a 3-year term. And right now, we're actually going through a process where a lot of cities and towns in Massachusetts no longer have an elected treasurer and collector. It's appointed. So right now, we have a home rule petition that was voted at town meeting to approve to take these positions to appointed, and now they have to go through the legislature. So there's many steps to go through. They have to go through the state and Senate, and then once approved, we will no longer be having those positions on the ballot. There's, so if you take a look at your little chart, what I tried to do is just show just the different positions and what their responsibilities are. We have the finance director, who is also the assistant town administrator, and Stephanie's responsible for supervision and coordination of all financial, personnel, preparation of town budget, coordination of fiscal management, procedures of the offices of town treasurer, tax collector, and board of assessors. Then we have public safety. We have our police chief, Chief Silva. He's appointed by the select board. We have our fire chief, Chief Deckers, who's appointed by the select board. We have a human services department, which consists of Board of Health, and Board of Health is there for a lot of issues. They actually, if you have a septic system in your home, they have to inspect that. If anyone have any chickens? So they have to give a permit for anybody that has farm animals. They make sure that there's a rabies clinic every year for the dogs. They have clinics where they have shots, flu shots. There's a Council on Aging. Council on Aging is a great place for our seniors. There's a lot of different programs there. They have rides to appointments and just a lot of support. The Recreation Department, I'm sure all of you have been able to enjoy different things from the Recreation Department. Swimming, summer programs. We have Youth and Family Services, and that's another area where, has anybody been involved with Youth and Family Services? Probably next year you will be. There's a lot of great programs. You could be on their board. I believe they still have a Big Friend program. So there's a lot of ways you can get involved when you're in high school with Youth and Family Services. Veteran Services, so we have a Veteran Services Director that is there for our veterans in town to help them. There are some veterans in town that they need help with different types of bills, medical insurance, they're through the VA healthcare, so the veterans agent will help them. And then we have the school department, we have superintendent, Ms. Parks, the assistant superintendent, Ms. Borchers, and then there's elected school committee members. So the other town offices, we have a town council, and the town council assists with any legal matters that concern town business. And then we have information and technology that manage daily operations of the IT department, technology, hardware, software, and all applications. We have a Department of Public Works who maintain infrastructure, sewer collection system, storm drain system, roadways, sidewalks, bikeways, and other transportation facilities, street lighting, traffic control devices, buildings, grounds, fields and parks, cemeteries, solid waste and recycling programs, municipal vehicles and equipment, and public facilities. We have a Human Resources Assistant Town Administrator who oversees all personnel activities and responsibilities of the town. So if you ever want a job with the town someday, you would apply through Human Resources. And then Land Use, that's a very big department in town. They're responsible for managing zoning and planning boards, and any building projects go through these departments. And I just wanted to bring up a little bit about the federal census because it does affect voting and precinct lines. Every 10 years, a federal census is conducted, and we just had one. It determines the population in the United States and how federal funding is distributed. And district lines are redrawn to reflect local population changes. In Westwood, due to an increase in our population over the last 10 years, all of our precinct lines were redrawn. You cannot have more than 4,000 residents in a precinct, therefore we gained a 5th precinct. It also shifts lines for congressional districts. And these are our elected state officials. We have a governor that's elected for 4 years, a lieutenant governor for 4 years, a secretary of state for 4 years. We work a lot with the secretary of state because they're also the person that handles elections. There's an auditor for 4 years, a treasurer for 4 years, attorney general for 4 years. We work with the attorney general a lot as well. When we have town meeting, all those articles that you see, any general or zoning bylaw articles have to go through the attorney general for final approval before we can actually institute those in our bylaws. Our Stephen Lynch, our congressman, senator, governor's council. Governor's council, does anybody know what governor's council does? Governor's council, what they do is they help with the appointment of judges, and they also give commissions like notary publics, justice of the peace commissioners to qualify. And then we have a state rep for 2 years. So I hope that you learned a lot about how our town is governed, and I want you all not to hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, and be sure to pre-register to vote when you turn 16. And when you're 18, you'll be automatically registered. And we also have a lot of high school students that help out on election day, and I hope that we'll see you up at the high school next year, and some of you will want to volunteer. It's really a great learning experience, and that's the only way you're really going to truly learn about the whole election process, which is very exciting, and we're going to have a very exciting 2024 because we'll have a presidential election. Does anybody have any questions? I know I kind of went through this a little quickly. Any questions? Yep.
If you, like, say, if you have a job and then you get elected to be one of those people, do you have to like quit your job, or do you, is it like a paying job?
So if you, any of the state positions, a congressional, those are all paying jobs, so that would be your full-time job. The town jobs are all part-time, so they still have a full-time job. The town clerk is really the only full-time elected position. And the others are just, some of them do receive a stipend, but they do still all have outside full-time jobs. Anybody here interested in political aspirations? I'm sorry?
His last name is Powers, too.
What is it?
Powers.
Powers, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What's your first name?
John.
John, oh, that's my husband's name, John Powers.
Oh.
Yes, but they call him Mike. Anybody else have any questions? Any questions about what you see going on in town, or what?
Yeah, that's what Ms. Powers hoping you could say a little bit about the process for, say, making improvements around town. Like if students saw, for instance, needed a dangerous intersection, maybe they thought that a traffic light would be a good idea. What is the process that people would go through to see if that can happen?
Okay, we do get that quite often. We get people that do want to put some more safety mechanisms in town, and you would reach out to, we have a safety team at the police station, so it starts there, and they go and they assess the situation. They usually will do some kind of monitoring there to see the traffic flow, and then they would submit that to the select board. So the select board would have the final say. It's pretty much the select board is the governing body that has the final say for most things. And it's always in consultation with the select board. And so I wanted to show you two. So this is the town seal. So any documents that the town sends out have to be certified. And they all have to be certified with a seal, right here. And I don't know if anybody wants to come down and you could try it. You want to come down? What's your name? Zach. Okay, Zach. Let's see, you strong, Zach? Okay, so what you want to do is put it in here.
Just like stab it.
And just, it's pretty hard, isn't it? All right, you got it. I think you're good.
We got it.
There you go. Here, Zach, here's a sticker.
I got this to you.
So this is a really, we use this every day. Somebody may have a new baby and they want a birth certificate, so they come in, and it's not really a valid certificate unless it's certified. It has a town seal. So you can make a copy. I know anybody that was on Pop Warner or Little League, you need birth certificates, but you always need, you can't have a copy. You have to have an original. It's not really original, but it has to be certified. Did you have another question, Zach?
So like, does it mean like I'm like certified?
You're certified. Zach is certified. All right, that's good. What's your name? Jack? We don't use it on graduation stuff, no. That would be the school has their own, has the town seal. But if anybody came in and they wanted to make their certificate a little bit more fancy, we could do that. Go ahead.
What's the political economic state of the world?
What's the economic state of the world? Well, I would say the economic state in Westwood, I could say the economic state in Westwood is pretty good. We're doing well. We just had town meeting and we had all of our budgets passed, which is pretty important. And that's the way that the town is going to run, by budget. You know, we need money in the event of storms and things like that. But I think we're doing very well here. So economically, what do you think?
I don't know. I personally agree.
You think it's good? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty nice.
That's good. No, it is. I think we're all.
I think I should get paid for going to school.
You do?
Like a job, yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Hi, I'm done, I'm sorry.
I don't. Do you have a question? Brooke, how many papers do we stamp a day? Probably about, at least, sometimes more. Yeah, it could be, you know, we have, unfortunately, when people pass away, they need a certified copy of a death certificate to close many different accounts. So usually we do 10 at one time. And also if you're newly married, you need to change all of your name, your bank accounts. So you need to have a certified copy of a marriage license. And then when you're born, you need a certified copy of your birth certificate so that your parents can get you on their health insurance and other benefits. So, yeah, so we do quite a few a day. Did you have a question?
Oh, yeah. Department deals with energy expenditure, and do you have to register yourself to get solar panels or anything?
Energy expenditures? Yeah, we have a special person that does that, Tom Philbin. He's our energy director, and he's actually just worked on, I know if any of you are following energy, the new energy program with utilities in town. So people opted in to have a different supplier so that the rates are a little bit less, and it also takes into account, you know, more energy efficiency. Oh, I'm sorry, what was the second part of your question?
If you were to get solar panels, would you have to
Yes, for solar panels, you'd have to apply for a permit through the building department. And I think he was first. Oh, John Powers?
Yeah, what was the job of the person that was just elected? French, right?
Oh, she's school committee.
Is that one person or multiple?
So there's 2 people that were elected. That's actually a 4-person board. So there's 2 people. And I think I saw another hand. Okay, sure, come on down. And well, Jack, is it Jackson? Jack. What is your question? Why do you have to register for so many things? Well, the biggest thing that you have to register for is when you turn 18, register to vote. So, and do you know why you have to do that? So if you want to have a voice on who your elected officials are, and you all want to make sure you do that. It's really important because you can't complain if you don't go out and vote. So, and you know, it's so true when they say every vote counts. We just had a very close election here in Westwood. So, you know, and we have over 12,000 registered voters, and we only had 2,300 come out to vote. So that small percentage, 23% people that came are going to, you know, they're voting and making decisions for the whole population. So it's really, really important. And encourage your parents too. Everybody needs to go out and vote. Yes?
So, are you required to vote if you're 18?
No, you're not required to vote. But, you know, as I said, it's good to have a voice in anything that's happening because everything affects your life in some way, one way or another. And if you're registered to vote, you know, there's ballot questions that come up and there's different viewpoints on different candidates. So, you know, you want to make sure that you have a say. It's your life. Yes?
Why do you have to be 18 to vote?
That's the law. That's in the Constitution. But, you know, it has changed a little bit where now you can pre-register at 16 and 17. Doesn't mean you can vote, but at least you're pre-registering so that when you're 18, you're automatically registered in case there was a big election and you forgot.
How do you pre-register?
You could go online and pre-register. Go onto the Secretary of State's website, and it's online voter registration, so you can do that. Is everybody excited about going to the high school? Yeah, that's great. And do you think, would anybody be interested in helping out at elections? If you are, you know, definitely. I don't know if anybody followed did anybody here go to the Hanlon or Deerfield? So we had a nice little mock election with the students and they voted for the name, Pine Hill. Yes, for the new school. Yes.
So what brought people to combine Deerfield and Hanlon into one school?
I'm sorry.
So I'm not sure if this is a related question, but what was the idea of combining Deerfield and Hanlon into one?
Well, the school department did a lot of research and felt like this was a good model now is to combine the 2 schools and have one big school. It's going to have a lot of different programs and a lot of better facilities there. And the Deerfield the 2 schools are pretty old schools, so it was kind of nice to be able to, you're going to get one nice big school. And it's pretty central as well. Yes?
What, do you know what's gonna happen? I know Hanlon's gonna be like turned into a parking lot. Do you know what's gonna happen to Deerfield?
We don't know that yet. Nope, there's a lot of thought, but there's no decisions yet on that.
You put a dog park.
You know, there are a lot of people in town that would like a dog park, so I know people have spoken to the select board about that. Yes?
Where did the name Pine Hill go? Because on Pine Street.
Well, it actually was the name of the school. So Brooke went to the Pine Hill School, and that was the original name. And then they named it after Paul Hanlon in his memory, and that was years later.
So I went to Hamlin. Are they still gonna keep with like old school, or are they gonna destroy it?
They're making it so.
No, that's going to be gone. So they're building the new school in the back, but you'll be in for a great surprise. It's going to be a beautiful school. And all of you will be able to use the facilities there.
Wait. Be a flat parking lot.
Yeah,
Is the playground gonna get destroyed, at the handle?
it'll be brand new. They'll have a new field, new playground.
What's gonna happen to the Deerfield?
We don't know yet. Yes.
Is it true that there's gonna be like an open gym at like the basketball?
I know they're going to have a new gym. It's probably going to be the same as the other gyms in town where teams will be able to use the facilities.
When will the new school be finished?
It should be next year. Yes.
Ms. Powers, I know you said there's a lot of opportunity for students to help out with elections.
Mhm.
Is there any other issues in town that kids could, that like eighth graders could help out at, or any other issues that you'd like to hear eighth grade input on?
Yes, actually, we have Memorial Day coming up, so we're always looking for volunteers to help replace flags at our deceased veterans' graves, and then also to plant flowers. So if you're interested, that's a really nice thing to help do. And you know, our seniors in town, really, sometimes they don't have anybody, and they need help. So if you're interested, you could always reach out to the Council on Aging, and you could volunteer. You know, maybe rake a senior's yard, or you know, do something like that that would help them. We used to have somebody in town that would do that, but we don't anymore. So any volunteers, students to help out, that would be really, you know, a great place to help.
Thank you very much.
And does anybody have any other concerns? Yeah. Who's Paul Hanlon? So Paul Hanlon was a select board member at one time. He did a lot for the schools, and he passed away, would you say 20 years ago maybe? Yeah. But he was very well respected, and so at the time of his passing, people wanted to memorialize him by naming the school after him. And they will still have, the new fields will be named after him.
What's gonna happen to the banners in the gym for the graduation? Oh, facts.
The banners in where?
The like banners for the graduation, the graduating pictures.
Oh, they're probably they're gonna put those in the new school. They're not gonna get rid of things. Yes?
Why didn't they just do like a combination of like both school names, like Deerland or like Shannon?
Well, they did have a survey, and they took the top names, and Pine Hill was one of them. So that's why the students that go to those schools right now are able to vote. Yes? Let's see, we have the Sheehan School, yes. Paul Hanlon, Martha Jones. I don't think the Downey or the Deerfield. And I'm sure there's a history behind those. We can always look them up and let you know. Yes?
Wasn't Sheehan a cop?
Yeah.
Yes, he was. He was killed in the line of duty.
Maybe last question, and then we'll give Ms. Powers a nice round of applause for taking the time.
So, is it Kyle?
Kyle, yes. Kyle, here's that to you.
I think that's like a
Is there a Downey at other towns?
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't think it's separate, because I've seen it down near like other towns.
There could be. I'm not really sure, though. I mean, towns have all different names of schools. A lot of times they're after certain people.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I hope this was helpful and you learned a little bit. There's, I mean, we could go on for hours. There's just so much involved in local government, but I think it's great that you're all taking an interest.